Kingdom has started its own history class.
This is a legendary run by a legendary team. You got to enjoy every minute of it.
Tagovailoa is in trouble. Sacked. Back in the end zone. Caught. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Stone Cold gets the big sack.
The Chiefs locked up the AFC West for a 9th straight season last week, but the job is far from finished. 3 more wins would secure the 1 seed and a first-round bye in the playoffs, and that mission continues here today in Cleveland. We are 2 hours from kickoff. You've waited all week for this very moment. It's finally here. It is time for football in Chiefs Kingdom. Let's do this. My name is Matt McMullen, joined by voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. This is Field Pass, presented by StorageMart. And Mitch, I think this qualifies as football weather today. What do you think?
You know, the Cleveland Browns are a proud franchise. You think of Otto Graham and Jimmy Brown and Paul Warfield, and that's what you feel today. You kind of feel Lake Erie here, and as well as, the conditions are cold and rainy. But this game is gigantic, as we know, and so the Chiefs have to power through it.
Add freezing rain to the list of conditions we've done Field Pass in now. You know, we've done the Arctic cold game against the Dolphins, hot games in Jacksonville, rainy games, now freezing rain. This is no big deal.
Sure, no problem. It's not Miami, though. You start, again, it's like, 40 degrees warmer than it was in that game against the Miami Dolphins. Can I say something here while we're
right
in?
ahead.
I mentioned this is a proud franchise. On October the 26th, the guy that did what I do for the Cleveland Browns, and he did it for a generation, passed away. He battled leukemia for 20-plus years. You know, we have a crucial catch game, and we wear the hat, we wear the hoodie, then we put it away and go on to the next promotion. Well, here, the Browns have lived it this year. It's been very, very difficult for them. And I told all my colleagues around the NFL I'd give a shout-out to his family and to these fans, but to the courage of Jim Donovan and what he did to face leukemia for over 20 years and fought through it. He kept coming back. If you can see the video of the breakdown for Jim by the team, it makes me emotional. Kevin Stefanski and what the team did for Jim before his passing. So anyway, just being in Cleveland makes me think of all that too.
Well, that's your guy. I know that. It's a fraternity of
There's only 32 of us.
Yeah.
Well, only 32 of us, and we lost one.
Well, thinking of him, Cleveland's a cool place. Kind of reminds me of Kansas City in a lot of ways. This has like a high school football atmosphere kind of thing. Cool stadium. So thinking of his family here today. Let's talk about the Browns a little bit. And it's interesting because they're 3-10 on the year. That doesn't really tell the full story, though, because these guys have new life under Jameis Winston, don't they? The numbers back that up. Here's some context. Through the first 7 weeks of the season, these guys ranked dead last in yards per game with 254 in the NFL. Dead last, number 32 overall. Since Winston took over in Week 8, they're third best in the NFL, averaging 382 yards per game. They throw the ball a ton. They're averaging 43 pass attempts per game since Winston took over, the second best in the NFL. And they're 300 passing yards per game since Week 8, ranked second in the NFL. Jameis Winston has completely changed this offense.
He's attacked the deep third of the field. He's attacked the deep third of the defense. Big stat with Jameis Winston. In air throws of the air, traveling the air, 21-plus yards, his quarterback rating is 112.4. That's fourth in the National Football League. And let's be honest, the Chiefs have given up 25 plays of 20 yards or more in the last 5 weeks. So the Browns can attack the Chiefs where they're maybe most vulnerable or need to figure it out on defense more than anything else on the defensive side. So, yes, this is a highly dangerous team, and Jameis Winston is coming out chucking it. And he's got a guy that can catch it.
Well, even in this weather, too, I feel like he's just going to rip it here today. He doesn't care about the conditions. And you mentioned the guy that's going to catch it is Jerry Jeudy, former Bronco player we know a lot about. Jeudy is enjoying a renaissance under Jameis because, listen to this. Through the first 7 games of the season, Jeudy had just 266 receiving yards. That's 38 yards per game. Not very good. Since Winston took over in Week 8, he ranks second in the NFL with 678 receiving yards. That's second to only Jamar Chase. He also has at least 60 receiving yards in all 6 of Winston's starts. Winston's apparently unlocked Jerry Jeudy.
Well, and when I talked to Andy Reid about it this week, he said this is the Jerry Jeudy that we saw at Alabama. Here's another stat for you. He and Jamar Chase are the only 2 players in the league that have touchdowns of 70 yards or more. That includes Justin Jefferson. But if you dig into his next-gen stats and you look at everything, and break it down, he's really listed. Since Jameis took over, to your benchmark, Week 8, there's 3 top receivers in this league: Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Jerry Jeudy. He's at that level. And so think about the game against the Broncos, his old team, where he ripped it off for over 2 bills. I mean, he's the guy catching these rocket launches from Jameis.
Now, there is a caveat to all of this. When you have Jameis Winston as your quarterback, you're going to have some big plays, a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, also a lot of turnovers. And that's been the case with the Browns since he took over in Week 8. In that time, Cleveland leads the NFL in giveaways with 13. They've committed at least 3 turnovers in 4 of Winston's 6 starts this year, including each of his last 3. He's going to give us opportunities defensively. It's just his play style. For us, it's a matter of taking advantage of those when they present themselves.
Well, and let's be honest again, the Chiefs have only 10 giveaways. There's only a few below the teams that have less, and those teams have a record of 10-42. Here we are at 12-1. This will be an opportunity to get the ball out today. Also, only Chicago's given up more sacks than the Cleveland Browns, and it's a matter of Jameis hanging onto the ball. He wants to hit that deep third. Well, that's one more click of time, and you can get him into some mistakes. Matt, Jameis Winston, all the virtues we put on him, has 14 career pick sixes. 14. He was praying that the Lord would take the pick sixes away from him. Well,
not this week, hopefully.
Well, not today. But the point is, I gave the analogy. He's the kid you have come out to your house for the 4th of July, and he's bringing out M80s. Like, wow, this is either going to be really fun or we're going to blow up the house. I mean, that's the way Jameis is. There just doesn't seem to be much middle ground. It's either, feast or famine.
Let's talk about their defense a little bit. It's interesting because this defense was really good last season. Not so much this year in terms of the overall numbers. It's the number 26 scoring defense in the NFL. A few things do stand out, though. They have the number 2 pressure rate in the league this season at 27.7%. Myles Garrett is obviously a big part of that. And they also force a bunch of negative plays. They have 111 negative plays forced this year. They want to get you behind the chains.
Their defense is in the same feast or famine category. It's like they're going all out. When you look at Jameis Winston, he can totally destroy your iPad of plays. He has 3 sack strips. It's not only is he getting sacks, he's getting sacks and strips. He has 19 in his career. Going back to when he first entered the league, only T.J. Watt has more. So he's so disruptive. But they've given up a chunk of big running plays. They've given up 16 runs of 20 yards or more. So it's almost like Jameis chucking it deep. It's either going to be great or terrible. Defensively, they're almost the same way. They give up, as good as this defense is for Cleveland, they've given up too many big plays. But let me give you a stat. We talk about this on Kingdom Conversations. They have had, you mentioned the 21 giveaways. They've only given up 54 giveaway points. And keep this in mind. They've given up 3 offensive touchdowns. Myles Garrett is standing there watching somebody go on a pick 6. He can't stop them. It's amazing how few giveaway points the defense has allowed, considering the amount of giveaways that their offense has given up.
You mentioned they're kind of boom or bust, though, and that's so true. I mean, they have all these negative plays, but like you said, they've also allowed the second most plays of 20 or more yards in the NFL this season. So hopefully a bunch of those for us here today.
And most of those are runs. Like,
a lot of big runs allowed. Second most in the league, I think.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the left tackle spot a little bit. Obviously, a big question mark. We don't know who the left tackle is going to be today. It's not going to be DJ Humphries. He was ruled out yesterday. So it could be Wanye Morris, could be Joe Tooney. We don't know. Beyond that, though, what are some ways maybe we can mitigate that pass rush here today with the play calling?
I love football at all levels and have ever since I was a little kid. But Andy Reid taught me something, that you can block great rushers without blocking them. You have to influence them. A lot of motions and shifts, try to trick them a little bit, even jet sweeps. And now without McCole Hardman, that's a little bit harder to do. But even Nico Remigio comes into play here. The other part is the quick game, and we saw that manifested last week. Now, these guys play more man-to-man than the Chargers did, meaning the zone, you've got that 2 or 3 yard, boom, the ball comes out. It's like we stole Tua Tagovailoa's iPad. These guys play more man, but you can still get the quick game going. Different, got to do some picks and such. But there are ways to block Myles Garrett without blocking Myles Garrett.
Well, changing gears a little bit, we talked about pick sixes earlier, Jameis Winston. How about Trent McDuffie getting his first career interception here today? Maybe a pick 6.
Right here, just right here, running to Lake Erie. Like, I would love that. I'll go nuts on the air if that happens.
That's the plan. For more on that possibility, we had a chance to catch up with Trent on our podcast earlier this week.
The most prestigious team award you can get is to be an All-Pro. in the National Football League. And our pro, first-team corner, Trent McDuffie, is with us now. What a crazy year.
Yeah.
To win these games the way we're winning them. Give me your perspective on this and why we're able to be 12-1 with crazy wins.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just a testament to the team we have, the locker room, the group of guys that continue to just come in each week and strive to get better, and when we go out to these games, we have a standard that we've set, being back-to-back champions, and a lot of times we haven't lived up to it. So coming out of these games, even though we're winning and we're 12-1, like, it hasn't been the best feeling. It's always been like, dang, like, we didn't hit that mark exactly like we wanted. We didn't play exactly how we wanted it. And that kind of fuels you, It kind of fuels you going into the next week, like, okay, yeah, we won that, but let's do better. Like, that's always the mindset I feel like coming into work is, how are we going to get better? How are we going to get better? How are we going to get better? And that mentality is kind of just continue to allow us to propel through these tight games, when Pat Mahomes has to go down the last drive last week and kill 4.5 minutes off the clock and win the game with the kick. Like, we won in ways that I've never seen. Block punts, walk-off punts, like, end the game, crazy plays. Like, you can't make it up. But each and every week, guys come in and no one's hanging their head down. No one's talking back to each other. It's just all love and all, like, let's just continue to get better. And I love that.
So 7 of our 12 wins this year have been kind of in walk-off fashion.
Yeah.
I'm counting the Raiders one as a walk-off, even though there was a few seconds left. It basically was.
Yep.
What's your favorite of the walk-off wins this year, if you had to pick?
Leo's block.
Yeah, that's the
That
answer.
was like, people ask me, like, oh, how was it? I was on the sideline, and he blocked it, and I think I stood there for like 20 seconds and just didn't move. I was just, like, looking around, like, everybody celebrating. I'm like, did this just happen? Like, it didn't hit me. And when it finally did, I was just like, wow. Like, that's a lot to say. You block a punt or block a field goal to win the game, something's good on your side.
I was just looking for flags. I was like, surely that isn't how the game is going to end.
Like, I heard the crowd. I didn't even want to watch. I heard the crowd erupt. Like, I saw the play, and I'm just like, there's no way. Like,
Yeah.
I've never seen a team win in this fashion. And, man, shout out them boys. That's just playing 4 quarters tough, hard, and never quitting.
I've told Matt this before. My favorite sound in football is that thud of a block kick. Mm-hmm. And to get it to be walk-off was, that sound, that whoomp, irreplaceable. There are guys that have played in this league their whole career, Pro Football Hall of Famers, that never won a playoff game. DJ Humphries is on this team now. He's played in 1. Yeah. D-Hop has won 2, and they're both wild card. Mm-hmm. You're part of one of the favorite classes I have of all time, the 22 draft class that is 7-0 in the playoffs. And I ask that as a precursor because it doesn't seem like there's any panic on either offense or defense in any situation. Why is that, and is that the case?
Yeah. Honestly, that is the case. I think it goes back to just the game that we've been in, going back to 2-3 years ago, even before I was here. Like, guys have been in these situations before, and one thing that we've done is learn from it. We know what to expect. We know how teams are going to try to come at us and attack us. And when you have that kind of mindset and knowledge of what's going to come at you in those situations, it gives you confidence. And you know that you don't have to stress. You don't have to do anything out of the ordinary. Like, you can just do you, play the call, and you should be good. And, man, since I've been here, just knowing who we have at quarterback on the defense perspective, like, why do I ever have to be nervous? Like, if we hold you to a field goal, to be honest, like, man, y'all might have just lost the game. Because I've seen Patrick Mahomes, before I was a Chief, while I was a Chief, walk down that field on multiple occasions, bail the defense out, and win games. So when those situations come about, like, the attitude around the defense is just like, get this ball back to Patrick Mahomes.
My favorite part of that, though, is when you mentioned, like, the offense, the defense bailing each other out.
Yeah.
Last week at the end, you guys worked in tandem where the defense held the Chargers to a field goal at the end, giving Patrick an opportunity to set up the game-winning field goal on our end.
Yeah.
When you have a game that ends like that against a divisional opponent, a really good one, and that wins the division, what's the feeling like in the locker room knowing, like, we just beat a really good team and it was a full team effort?
Man, the energy was high. That was one of my favorite wins this year because there was a lot of hugs. It was a hat, T-shirt game, of course, but just the genuine energy and the love that we shared with each other during that moment was special for me, and I've been, of course, a part of a lot of special moments. But I think this is one of those games I'm going to remember just because a lot of things happened. Like, different DBs had to come into the game. Different receivers had to go in the game. Like, we had to stop. I mean, we shut them out in the first half. Second half, things fell apart. Offense came and helped us out. Like, so many things were happening. And to come out and win the game like we did and just be confident, everybody smiling and being like, okay, like, we stamped that. Like, that's the first block that we had to do. Now we continue to stack more. It was just a great feeling.
That being said, I want to ask you now, because after that first half, it was like, all right, that's the 23 Chiefs defense.
Yeah.
But now to put 4 quarters together, and I asked that under a precursor, you're playing now a team that has the ability to attack the deep third, especially Jerry Jeudy. I mean, he's having a heck of a year. So how do you get 4 quarters, protect the deep third, and stay away from the explosive deep play, especially to Jeudy?
Yep. Honestly, I think it comes back to practice, Big shout-out to Carson Wentz. I think I'm a huge fan of what he's been able to do for us this year. Man, during practice, he makes all throws. Like, there's been games where I'm like, man, Carson Wentz, low-key, like, was a lot harder in practice than it has been in the game just based on the athlete that he is. But, yeah, just putting together a great week of practice where we know Carson's going to give us balls that Jameis will probably give us, working on the deep shots and just going back to the fundamentals of football. I think December is a great time where you can really just hone in on the little techniques that playing a long season and you're hurt and stuff kind of can slip away with your tackling or just certain things like that. Being able to just come back and just play fundamental football and simplifying the things and saying, okay, as long as we do this, do your job, like, go out there and we'll be fine. I think it's the biggest thing we can do.
All right, great stuff there from Trent. We actually had to cut that interview. It's about, 5 minutes longer on our podcast. Find that on Chiefs YouTube. Really interesting stuff. I'm glad he's on our side.
Not only is he a phenomenal player, an all-pro first-teamer, that's the biggest thing you can get is to be all-pro. But just his maturity, again, he's the class of 22 guys. He's phenomenal. And hopefully today he'll get his first interception. I can't believe it's 3 years he hasn't had a pick.
I know. Well, he's been so good.
That's maybe the craziest non-stat we have.
Now, the one thing we had to cut out of that interview just for time was him talking about the Super Bowl last year. He talked about his blitz, his deflection on 3rd down against Brock Purdy. If the Niners complete that, we're just hoping that they miss the kick, basically. Everything changed because of that play. I get chills just thinking about it.
Maybe Chanel would have blocked Moody's kick.
Again.
Otherwise, no ring, no parade, no back-to-back, no 6,944 days. It'll be the most forgotten play of that game, the most forgotten big play. But one thing that I thought he said was very profound, and I've used it in some other interviews that I've done throughout the rest of the week, is the fact that this defense is, and this team is so mature mentally. They know what's at stake. They've been through so many big plays. But the defense in particular needs to free up. They know the importance of every week, every play, what this day means, but it's kind of put them in a tight spot. They haven't made plays that they normally have made. And I think it's just, they just need to free up and play. And that's what Trent's message was. So hopefully we'll see that today.
A Trent McDuffie pick 6, I think, would make everyone a little looser. That'd be awesome.
The bench would go berserko.
Let's do that. We just got the inactives. Let's jump into those. For the Chiefs, no real surprises. If you missed this yesterday, Harrison Butker was taken off IR. Harrison will be our kicker today. Haven't had him in 5 weeks now. Of course, had some theatrics with Matthew Wright and Spencer Schrader, some game-winning kicks, but Harrison Butker is back. That's great news. DJ Humphrey's not going to play. Already knew that. We'll have someone else at left tackle. We'll watch warm-ups out here later and see who that's going to be. It's still a mystery. And then Hollywood Brown, just some housekeeping here. He returned to practice on Friday. You won't see him on the inactives list because he's still on injured reserve, but he's practicing again. Not going to play today, but that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's encouraging, and if you get a second vertical threat to this offense, we haven't seen it. We saw it in camp. We saw it in OTAs.
We were excited.
The first play of preseason, what? But I don't want to get ahead of myself because we're in this 3 games in 11-day span. But in this span, we could see Hollywood Brown on the field at some point, and that'll be awesome.
Excited for that one. With the Browns, there is some injury news here. Yeah. So tight end David Njoku was the one that we were watching. He has a hamstring injury. It was questionable coming in. He's not going to play. He's inactive, and that's a big deal. Njoku has 56 catches for 439 yards and a team leading 5 touchdowns this year. The Chiefs defense has struggled with tight ends this season, and Njoku's one of the better ones. He's not going to play today.
Yeah, but I mean, we saw Stone Smart last week, right, go like triple his yards. It's just a matter of whomever's out there to mitigate the tight end a bit, and that's exacerbated with the discussion we had 10 minutes ago about the third level opening up. But let's just be real honest. David Njoku is a Pro Bowl level tight end, and him not playing is very impactful.
A few other ones. Wide receiver Cedric Tillman is not going to play today. He remains in concussion protocol. He has not played since week 12. He was having a nice season, too. He ranked third on the Browns in receiving yards and led them in receiving touchdowns before his injury. He's not going to play. He's kind of like a big physical receiver, so they're missing him. Then left guard Joel Bitonio is going to play. He has a back injury right now. He's questionable coming in. He started all 13 games for them this year and leads the team in offensive snaps. But when you have a back injury at guard, you have Chris Jones over your nose, that could be tough. We'll see how effective he can be.
Well, someone who's had back surgery, that just and this weather, that makes it a real problem because it stiffens up real fast in this. But this is an offensive line. They're very similar. I talked to Coach Reed about this too. Very similar to the Chargers. They have a lot invested in this offensive line. Not only Bitonio, who's really good, but Wyatt Teller. You look at what they've done in free agency in the draft, the Browns have put a lot into their offensive line. So, and don't forget, Nick Chubb is running the ball. He had the injury last year, the grotesque injury, and he's had an injury plague this year. But a day like today, we talk about Kareem and we talk about Pacheco, we talk about Pirine. Nick Chubb can be a factor for them in the run game. You got to stop that first.
And this Brown squad is prideful, right? Especially under Jameis. They're 3-10 on the year. They're not going to the playoffs, but these guys fight. That's been evident. They fight for each other. They fight for Cleveland. What a great opportunity, though, this is for the Chiefs to take one more step toward our ultimate goal. For Mitch Holthus, I'm Matt McMullen. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Let's go get a victory.